Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching our video. I am Starlene Brighter. I'm here with Linda Berry. We're going to be talking about exploring connections across the vibrations. So we'll explain what that means and where we get this information from. So before we do that, I'd like to say, hi, Linda. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Starlene. How are you doing?
I'm doing great too. I'm excited to look at this because I know we've been looking at it for a while with our own charts and other people's charts. So it's nice to be able to share this with other people. This is kind of that cutting edge part of vibrational astrology that we talked about in previous videos. So before
level 3, folks, level 3.
Yes, level 3. Yes, level 3. But before we get into this, why don't we talk a little bit about the natal chart versus vibration chart 1, which are technically the same thing, but we look at them from different perspectives.
We'll probably do a whole video on this, the research. I did research what happened specifically in vibration 1, and it's very interesting. But just to talk about it for a minute here, when you look at a normal astrology chart, only some of the planets have lines between them. And this is because we have some traditional aspects that we do in the in each of the charts. These are things that have been found to be helpful over ages, certainly back to the Roman and Greek era. People were using the opposition, the trine, the sextile, and the square as aspects since forever. And the we added some aspects that Kepler came into that Johannes Kepler recommended in about 1500, I think. We added those aspects, and then we ended up with the semi-square, the sesquisquare, semi-sextile, and the quincunx. And in ancient times, they knew about the semi-sextile and the quincunx, but they didn't like them. They thought they were really, really difficult, and they can be challenging. So, but anyway, those are the standard aspects. Now, this means all the planets in the natal chart don't have these aspects. Some of the planets between them will not have lines drawn. When we started working with vibrations, what this means is that there is a connection between every one of the planets, and those connections have multiple ways they express themselves. And thus, the natal chart is all of these connections among all of the planets. And it's too much to show on a chart. The vibrational charts, the harmonic vibration charts, show us pieces of that pattern in a way we can read them. It's all the natal chart. All the vibrational charts do is like blow up a piece of it like you were using a microscope and make a part of it bigger so you can see it clearly. So,
right.
What we're doing today is we are simply looking at the first vibration, which has the same planet positions as the natal chart, but we're looking at it with limited aspects in the first vibration, with just the few aspects we use in every vibrational chart. And we're using the same rules as the first vibration that we use in the other vibrational charts. We use a special set of rules for the natal chart. Again, that's another video. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work with vibration 1. It's actually the natal chart. See how other vibrations interact with it and why they might.
Yes, I love it. And I also, I think it's a great idea for us to do another video to explain that whole other topic. but
Yeah,
we just
we
wanted
got
to give
two
you
other
guys
topics there, Darlene.
actually, we have a few. but but it's great because we're just slowly unfolding. And by the way, this is just part one of our, it's going to be a series of videos on this. So you just be knowing that we're looking even deeper into this, but this is part one. We have to start walking before we run, right? So let's go ahead and get into your diagrams for the charts.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Are we up on screen, Darlene?
Sure are.
Okay. Here's an illustration of what we're talking about. This top line is the natal chart. The bottom line is a combination vibration process. You'll see here. In the natal chart, we're just doing a hypothetical situation here. Suppose Mars is at 20 of Taurus and Venus is at 0 of Virgo. Well, Mars at 20 of Taurus, 20 of Taurus is actually 50 degrees from 0 of Aries, because you've got all of Aries, which is 30 degrees, and then you've got 20 degrees in Taurus, so that makes it 50. Now, let's look at Venus. Venus is at 0 Virgo. That is the beginning of the fifth, actually the beginning of the sixth sign. You have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo before it. So you've got 150 degrees before 0 of Virgo, which means that 0 of Virgo is 150 degrees from 0 of Aries. Well, of course, I picked planets that this worked for, but this is to illustrate a concept. So Mars at 50 and Venus at 150, well, 3 times Mars' position is Venus's position, isn't it? Exactly. So that you can see the blue line here representing Venus, and one vibration of that line, natal chart, it hits 150 degrees or 0 of Virgo. Mars with 3 vibrations hits exactly the same place. We think there is a relationship here, that this vibrational point is vibrating in the person's life.
So what you're really saying here is that in this diagram here, Mars and Venus, Mars in the first vibration is in the same place as Venus in the third vibration. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So I understand. I just want to make it clear so we can kind of have a picture of what's going on here. That makes sense. So, and those little bumps there are the different vibrations in the orange line, correct?
Right. I've got some pictures of this in a circle, but do you have some questions before I get to that?
No questions on this. I think that's pretty clear. So,
okay. Here's a picture of it in a circle. It's a little harder to visualize in a circle, even though the circle is the way it really happens. That's why I drew it with a straight line. So you can see here Venus with 1 vibration going around to 0 of Virgo. And here you can see Venus with 1 vibration and Mars with 3 vibrations around the zodiac, hitting the same spot.
Right. And that's a good visualization of how we look at harmonic charts too, if you're unfamiliar with that. Looking at what a harmonic chart, because the harmonic chart is the natal chart or the vibration chart. We call them harmonic or vibration charts. But the vibration chart is the natal chart, like Linda said, just blown up, magnified, and that's what we come up with. So very interesting. Very good. I think this is pretty clear.
Okay. Here's an example. Pope Francis, that's somebody most of us are familiar with. And here are a couple of interactions for Pope Francis with lower vibrations. Now, the inner wheel here is the natal chart. The second wheel is the 14th vibration. And the third wheel is the 22nd vibration. Now, 14 has to do with your deep internal patterns, ways of seeing the world, what you do and experience when you are by yourself or in meditation, the personal encounter you have, how you figure out the world within you on a personal level. That's the 14th vibration. And oftentimes the 14th vibration involves people getting together to discuss really deep concepts or deep ways of experiencing things. So you have study groups, you have master-student processes like Tai Chi, or maybe even a monastery, or a spiritual contemplation process that is shared between people that would all fit in 14. The other vibration here is 22. And 22 is 11 times 2. So you have to understand 11 to understand 22. 11 is never satisfied. It's restless. It's seeking. It's trying to find something that's better, that fits it better, something that it can be more satisfied with. It's always reaching out, always searching, and it never gets to a point of real satisfaction. 11 is really drives the person to always move further and further. And one of the tricks in 11 to be able to handle it better is to just, if you've really strong 11, you just need to accept the fact that you're always going to be searching for something more. You're probably never going to be completely satisfied. Now, this is 11 times 2, which means you and I are going to go search for something together, Starlene.
Right.
We're not happy with what we've got. We're going to go look for something else, or we're going to try to find a different way of understanding it, or whatever. So that is 22. Now, what we're saying here is that these positions, when they are very, very close, now we're only allowing 20 minutes for these to even consider. That's a third of a degree. Normally on conjunctions between people, we allow 8 degrees. So this is like, we're only doing like 1/24 of the distance we usually give in normal circumstances. So this is super, super tight orbs. And look at Pope Francis's Saturn. It's at 16 of Pisces, 30. His Venus is at 16 of Pisces, 31. 1 minute. They're just literally sitting right on top of each other. Let's look at this in a little more where you can see it better. You can see here, this is the Vibe 14 Venus on the first vibration or natal chart Saturn. Now, what do we think this means? We think this means that Venus is embedded in Saturn, and perhaps Saturn is also embedded in Venus. But the Venus being embedded in Saturn looks very, very likely. So what would this would be, Venus is the attraction to beauty, and this is Vibe 14. So this would be the beauty of the inner world, and I think you can even consider Pisces a little bit here since it's on both of them. So it would be going out and connecting into all the myriad of unconnected things and seeing how they are all connected together, how there's beauty in the relationships between them, how they attract each other. That's Venus. Okay. But Venus comes there and sits in Saturn. Saturn is, what's the long-term pattern? What's the structure? What's the foundation? What's really important and is going to last past death? So you've got this Venus that is connected with inner patterns that you experience and share with others, but deep inner patterns of connection on broad levels. And it's in the Saturn. So this would mean that for Pope Francis, love and connecting to other people and seeing the beauty in all people is at the core of his sense of what is important long term.
Right. That makes sense. So just to clarify some of the things that you said, what would you say is the purpose of these charts? So I know we're talking about Saturn in his first vibration and Venus like influencing it. So basically his Saturn has that Venus energy. So it's like that real connected to something real, something loving. And that would be like the essence of him, or how would you,
what it looks like this does is show deep ingrained characteristics of the person. It shows that his Saturn is not just, his Saturn has a Venus coloring to it. It's like there's, if you want to use the colors I've got on the thing here, it's like it's blue. His Saturn has a blue, it's like a tone, it's like a if you have rose-colored glasses, or you have yellow-colored glasses, or you have blue-colored glasses, you get something a little bit different.
Right.
This says that in the foundation of Pope Francis's being is his awareness of what is important has this strong, strong Venus energy in it.
Very interesting. So you also had mentioned that, and that was a question I had for you too, that you believe that Pisces has a little influence on it too. And the reason I was going to ask you that question is because, you know, does the zodiac influence us because we're looking at natal planets? You know, does that have that play into it somewhat, since we're using, you know, vibration?
Yeah, let's think about this just a minute. We have found that there's a certain length around certain vibrations around the zodiac that have a Virgo energy. We found that there are certain vibrations, I don't have a picture of this, but that have a Libra energy or an Aries energy. And what we're talking about is this is an underlying tone. David Cochrane did a lot of research on the signs where he concentrated the energy of one sign and studied the strongest charts, the strongest Aries or the strongest Virgo. And he got descriptions of these charts, of these signs, that are not always exactly the same as what modern astrology interprets them as, because we're working on the energy level rather than on archetypal expression levels. And the energy level underlies the archetypes. So these two things are hitting. This is the one with Venus and Mars in 0 Virgo. These two things are hitting the same spot on the zodiac resonances. So I think they do have some of the characteristic of the signs, which is something we don't normally do in the vibrational charts. Is work. We don't work as strongly with the signs as we do with the aspects. But this is not an aspect level. This is underneath. This is foundational. This says that at 16 of Pisces, 30 and 31, you've got a vibrational hit that includes Venus from 14. Venus has 14 waves, Saturn in one. Saturn one wave to Venus 14 waves. I do think that if you use the vibrational meanings of the signs, that it will give you additional understanding of how these very tight zodiac points are operating.
Very good. That makes sense too. Being that there is some influence with the zodiac, but it's just another layer, if you will.
Yeah.
So this leads me into another question that I have for you, and then we can move on to another example. But what would you say in terms of importance? So say I pull up my chart and I look at my vibrations, and I know you're programming an easier way to find this into a future frequency finder. But if I just want to explore and I'm looking at something, what would I say? Like, how would I, and I know maybe you don't have a concrete answer, but what is your thought and your theory on the idea of how important this is in someone's natal chart, like looking at it in their natal chart, or, you know, looking at it from a vibration to their natal chart or vibration to vibration? What would you say is the importance of it?
Well, this is something we're going to have to continue to work with.
Right.
I can tell you my suspicion, but we haven't established this. This needs research.
Right.
Definitely needs research. But I think that Pope Francis's Saturn, the way he takes responsibility, the way he structures things, the things he feels are most important. Remember, Saturn determines the most important things that we focus on, and Saturn has a tendency to say, take all the trivial stuff that doesn't last a long time and just forget about it. It doesn't matter. So what this says is that for Pope Francis, love and beauty matter.
Right.
And I don't think that's just in the natal chart. I think his Saturn has a fundamental Venus resonance.
Okay, that makes sense. So everything Saturn is connecting with, also that Venus is there too. The Venus in the 14th is there as well. And it's not just, you know, love of beauty itself, but something real, because that Saturn influence.
It becomes a part of the deep way so remember, Saturn, this is in a sense is easier than explaining some other planets. Saturn is about evaluating things. Saturn is saying, is this important? Does this last a long time? Is this essential? Is this really like a truth from the perspective of that person? Saturn is a planet of evaluation, or you could even say judgment. And so Saturn's questions to determine what's important will have a Venus part to them. So he's saying, is this operating in love? Is this about the basic beauty and worth of every human being? That's part of what Pope Francis feels lasts past death is love.
Right. And I can see that too. Awesome. Well, thank you for explaining that. What about this other one that you have?
Orange line over here?
Yeah.
Well, This is Uranus in the natal chart, which is about operating in the moment. And you notice it's in 5 of Taurus and the moon is in 6 of Taurus, but it's very close to the end of 5 of Taurus, and the moon is very close to the beginning of 6 of Taurus. So Uranus is 4 minutes from the end of Taurus. Moon is 5 minutes into, 4 minutes from the end of the 5th degree of Taurus. Uranus is 6 minutes into the 6th degree of Taurus. So they're only 9 minutes apart. They just go over a degree boundary. So Uranus is about how you spontaneously act in the moment. What your almost internal, what pops out of you, what you suddenly feel in the moment and act on, or at least want to act on. This says it contains the moon. This says that the moon is saying, and this is really interesting because Uranus doesn't like to think about the past or the future. It just wants to act in the moment. But it's got a moon energy in it, which means that there's a focus in emotional feelings that you have in the moment. And see, this gets tricky because Uranus is just interested in what do I feel in the moment. But we know that the feelings we have come from our past experiences. So there's a little bit of the past that sneaks into Uranus here because the moon is so tightly on it, which is, it just, Uranus operates based on feelings for Pope Francis. When he operates in the moment, it's got a feeling, intuition type of thing that gets added to the normal Uranus impulsiveness.
Right. And that comes from the moon being in the 22nd vibe too, right? Because that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing I need to say about this is this moon is always reaching out, trying to find something more. It's never satisfied with what it understands. It always wants more. So it like supercharges Uranus because it's coming from 22. So it like grabs hands with somebody else in 22 and said, come on, let's go. And so Uranus tends to jump anyway. So actually, because it's in 22, you see how the vibration affects us. It's going to jump further, quicker. It's not going to stay in like expected patterns, traditional patterns. It's going to be different. It's not going to, this is just not going to be controlled by past expectations. The moon is going to push it to make new feelings because it's the moon in 22 and Uranus wants to jump out. The moon in 22 is always searching for something more. So it wants new ways of feeling, ways that it's hard to put exactly into words. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I can see, knowing what I know about Pope Francis, is that there's a different shift about him than others that have come before him. And yet there's still a tradition too. So
there is a tradition, but he's willing to do different things.
Right. He's willing to like even see, out instead of just going along with the flow. There's still like a feeling of not necessarily being happy with the tradition and trying to seek better. And I see that in Pope Francis.
Well, I think he's very, very committed to the core message of Christianity, right. But he's not always sure that the rules or the traditions reflect that well.
Right. It's almost like he's a little progressive in that sense. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that Uranus and the 22, both are going to push the moon into a more progressive place. Okay, more innovative, maybe it would be a good word for it. Willing to try new things to more accurately express the core message, which for Francis, we know here from Venus on Saturn, is love.
Yes. Let's look at the next person.
Okay, we've got Meryl Streep. And we had something really wild happen here. My program that I used, I wrote a program in Excel to find these patterns until I could get Frequency Finder doing it better. And that program was only looking at Sun through Pluto. Well, these were the two strongest patterns for Meryl Streep in the first 32 vibrations, without getting into big numbers we don't have as good a meaning for and all of that. We found that her vibration 18, her Venus, interacted with her Saturn in her natal chart. That sounds familiar. And then we found that her Jupiter in 28 interacted with her Pluto in her natal chart. That's the red lines. Well, we put this up in this tri-wheel that showed all three charts, and they're sitting right on the Jupiter. Exact to the minute was Eris in 18.
Wow.
So, I mean, you're like, we got a bonus.
Yes, we did.
Eris decided, I want to be included too.
Yes.
Eris really likes this idea of being included.
Definitely.
So, okay. So what do we have here? Well, first, let's talk about the vibrations, because that's core. The vibrations are always central to the meaning of anything that's in that particular vibration. So we've got 18 here. Again, the natal chart, the first vibration in the middle, 18 in the second wheel, and 28 in the third wheel.
Right. And they have set, even though they're the same planets with Saturn and Venus here, because Venus is in the 18th, it is a totally different energy than what we saw with Pope Francis. And I find it interesting because we just were looking for people with AA data. We didn't actually look for charts. And they were like, we'll figure it out and then see if it works, just because we were exploring. And they both end up having Saturn Venus energy, but you'll see as we unfold this how it works differently. And
Venus comes in on their Saturn, but it's from a different vibration.
Yes.
For Pope Francis, it was 14, this deep inner level that you can share with others. For Meryl Streep, it's 18. 18 is 2 times 9.
Right.
And what that's going to give us is a strong sense of interaction in community. So Venus here is not focused on deep inner awareness like it was with Pope Francis. Instead, Venus is focused on interaction, community interaction. How do communities interact? What happens between people in a community context? So this is a very, very different way to operate. But again, and it's in a different sign, which is interesting, because Pope Francis's Venus coming into Saturn in his natal chart was in Pisces, and Meryl Streep's is in Virgo. It's just really weird that these charts have these kinds of relationships. The people, as far as I know, have no relationship with each other.
Right.
But that their charts would have some similarities in these strong vibrational connections is fascinating. Anyway, so what does this mean for Meryl Streep? This means that she sees the beauty of people in community, that all the different people that you can encounter in community, she sees the beauty of them. She's attracted to them. And this is in her Saturn. This is in the depths of her Saturn, that it has some similarity, but this is much more community based, whereas Pope Francis was much deeper in an internal experience. So she is about sharing in community and studying the interactions between people in community. And so her Saturn, because this Venus in Virgo is in there, is going to consider that to be important. Now, let's talk about Virgo for a minute here, because that's the energy we're dealing with. We're dealing with the 18th vibration, but we're also dealing with both of these points hitting within 1 minute in one of Virgo. This would mean Virgo sees a universal pattern, a pattern out there that it tries to bring down and make real on Earth. I would say that with Meryl's Venus inside her Saturn, that the pattern she sees is one of the beauty of human beings, and that the interactions between people are precious and they build a long-term pattern. So she's going to be focusing on the pattern of interactions between people. That's what she's attracted to here. So this is more outward moving into, we need to look at how people are interacting with each other. Or is it doing in ways that have long-term consequences that are good for the people, or is it damaging the people? It's that level. With Pope Francis, it was more, we need to see this deep internal connection in the universe to the ultimate beauty. So the vibration and the sign make a big difference. So that's the Venus with Saturn there.
That definitely sounds so much different than what it sounded with Pope Francis. And I feel like it really does fit Meryl Streep, how she interacts in the community and the things that she has done, the work that she does. She in her acting, and she's done so many different roles of acting. She's one of the greatest in my opinions, or at least of the contemporary people. She has played so many varying roles that it's almost like inherent within her that she's able to express that thing, that art, that beauty, that love inside of her outward. And that's where I'm seeing this Venus in the 18th connecting with her Saturn. It's part of her too. It's not something that is fleeting or whatnot. It's just part of her as a person, which is very much the Saturn energy.
And you have to, she is definitely a great actress in my opinion. And but you have to remember that every actress chooses which roles they'll take.
Right.
And yeah. I'm sure she gets offered many, but she doesn't stay in a narrow field. She expands outward. And that relates to the other pattern we've got marked here in red.
Yep. You have the bigger picture of this one?
Yeah, I do. Here it is. Okay, and you can see here it's marked at the top. This outer circle is 528. The middle circle is 18. The inner circle I didn't mark, but it's the natal chart. Okay, now this is the one where Eris decided to pop in and have her say in the process. But let's talk about Jupiter and Pluto first. Pluto in her natal chart is her purpose and meaning in life. It's that which she just feels like she must do, that she feels compelled to do. And Jupiter here has to do with expansion. So her purpose is to do it big, to grow and expand. and Jupiter Pluto is often pretty financially successful, and I think we could say that for Meryl Streep here. So it may be that even these vibrational patterns carry certain indicators of things like possible success. I don't know. That's one of the things we need to explore. But so we've got a very expansive mission for Meryl Streep. And if we look at the Leo involved, Leo prizes individuals. It loves all individuals. This was from the research. It values the uniqueness of each person. It wants to be, Leo wants to be a character and wants to relate to other characters. And so here we have Meryl Streep being all these different characters, a wide range of them that really fits with the Jupiter and the Pluto. And Eris makes it more so.
And Jupiter is in the 28th vibration, so there is a internal focus with that,
yes,
but also action to make that internal focus happen, which I think to be someone of her caliber who can just be a different person in her way of acting so easily, it seems like she slides in and out of these different, myriad of different types of roles, that she would have to have that ability internally to focus herself and her energy in a very driven way, which is that Jupiter Pluto. So very interesting.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Starlene. What I didn't cover the 28 part of it. What 28 is going to be here is the internal structure within her contains this motivation or drive to expand. It's 7 times 4. 7 is this internal personal essence, the way you are yourself when you're by yourself, the inner world the way you've interpreted the world outside and formed an inner pattern that is your own personal meaning. And but it's 7 times 4. So that inner pattern is driving outward. It is motivated to go out and express itself in the world. And so to some extent, these two are actually related because it's expressing the beauty of all of the different people. Now, Eris here means that Eris wants to include everything in the category you're dealing with. So Eris wants to connect everything together and include everything. So this just more strongly emphasizes the importance of moving in a lot of different roles. That's Eris's thing, is to want to connect all the areas, to not have any blocks, to not have any, no, you can't do this. Or no, you can't play that role. Eris says, oh yeah? Watch this. And so this is the positive aspect of Eris. When you actually say, no, I can't play that role, I can't handle that, Eris starts pushing. And that's when things get strange. But for right now, we're just talking about the fact that she does expand. There's an expansive connecting of all of the different parts, in this case of acting. In fact, that would even make me wonder if, because Eris is in there, I just wonder if Meryl Streep has ever considered directing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a curious question.
Yeah, but you see, this Eris is an 18, so it's all the different, to include all the different interactions of community. That's what she wants. She wants to see the flow between all the different ways people operate in community.
Yeah. And like your research showed, Eris doesn't allow those blockages. There's a flow between all of what is that
Well,
energy.
Eris hates blockages, you might say. Eris
Yeah.
Eris can't tolerate them, so she pushes and pushes against them. And if you're not willing to open it up, then things get rather chaotic.
Yeah, it's almost as if she had no choice but to be driven with that Pluto Eris and then blowing it up.
Yeah.
Jupiter energy in that sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
and within the community. And that's something from inside because, of course, those are the harmonic energies too. So that's really interesting to look at with Meryl Streep and also with Pope Francis. Very cool.
Okay.
Okay, well, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Linda. I look forward to doing layering these videos on, doing part 2, and who knows how far we'll go, but there's a lot to this. I know that we've talked a lot about it and there needs to be research done, but this is definitely, you know, a start of something and putting it out into the world. So let us know in the comments if you find a planet that's connected to your chart, you know, your natal chart, into your harmonics, and see what you feel about that. Let us know how you feel because we're curious to see. And thank you guys, of course, so much for watching, and we appreciate you guys watching.
Before we close, Starlene, I just want to comment to people. If you go out and start looking at your, say, your first 32 vibrations in relation to your natal chart, there aren't a lot of these. They really are rare. And remember, we're only talking about a 20-minute orb. So if things are a couple degrees away or whatever, for right now, we're working with the really, really tight ones. And I'm seeing, like, in the first vibration, 3, 4, 6 in 32 harmonics. There are some more higher, but we just want to keep it with the things that are easy for us to deal with right now. Okay.
Yeah. And that 20-minute orb is important because if something is going to be there in that 20-minute orb, it's going to be there. If it's not, then it's not, you know. So definitely more research needs to be done, but this is a nice example and demonstration of looking at the harmonic charts and how they connect with the first vibration chart. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Linda. Okay, so thank you guys for watching our video. Let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything that you find in your own natal chart connected to the higher vibrations, the 1 through 32, and we will see you soon. Have a great one.
Take care.